Oh, there it is.
Yeah. All righty. Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 1:03 p.m., please, today on March 20th, 2025. Happy anniversary to all of us, by the way. This is our first 1 year as a meeting together as a Bond Oversight Committee. Yay. So, Ms. Borboa, can we go ahead and do roll call, please?
Jeffrey Anthony. Catherine Narvisu.
Present.
Don Bell.
Present.
Owen Brosanders.
Present.
Cindy Coleman.
Present.
Luis Gonzalez.
Here.
Red Morrow.
Here.
Raghu Nandan.
Present.
Peter Norquist.
Present.
Tiffany Rogers.
Here.
Delio Sotelo.
Present.
Sophia Blue.
Present.
And Erica Miranda Carter.
Present. Thank you. Item 2.03, agenda adjustments. If anybody has any adjustments? No? Okay, I don't have any adjustments either, so we'll go ahead and move on to call to the audience. We have two of them today, so I'll have Ms. Blue read the guidelines to address the Bond Oversight Committee.
Hey, at this time during the meeting, members of the audience may address the Bond Oversight Committee in regard to items of concern in person or by sending their written comments to be read into the record. During the audience call, the Bond Oversight Committee chair or vice chair will recognize speakers and maintain order by setting appropriate limitations. Any person desiring to speak shall provide their full name and topic on a call to the audience card. When addressing the Bond Oversight Committee, the speaker should begin by stating their full name and topic. Speakers are encouraged to be brief. The maximum speaking time is 3 minutes. Individuals attending the meeting and or addressing the Bond Oversight Committee should observe rules of propriety and good conduct and refrain from impertinent or slanderous remarks. TUSD serves students from all ages, so speakers should be aware that children may be present. At the end of the audience call, the Bond Oversight Committee chair will ask if individual Bond Oversight Committee members wish to respond to a speaker's criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter appear on a future agenda. By law, at most two Bond Oversight Committee members can address any single issue raised during the audience call. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. I did forget to let the committee know that Ms. Ekstrom could not join us today. She did have, her daughter had a track meet, but she did notify us that she wouldn't be here because she was going to be there with cheering them on. So moving on to call to the audience, we have Val Romero.
Hello, and thank you, Bond Oversight Committee, for the work that you guys are doing. Again, my name is Val Romero. One topic I'm going to talk about is the bond project update. So, for those who don't know me, I am one of the board members on the credit board. So I've been to a lot of different schools in our district. I've actually visited every single school. When I go to the
There we go.
Hopefully I don't have to repeat all that. So based on getting a lot of feedback, I had a principal went to one of the schools and he had some feedback and he wanted me to kind of reach on out to you. On his school, it's an older school, and we guys had the filming, the security filming that the board ended up passing after it was submitted through you guys to give to us. Come to find out, on a lot of our schools, it's only 8-inch glass on a lot of our older schools. This safety screen can only be put on glass that's 1/4 inch thick. So what ends up happening, they can't put those on there. We're going to have to replace the glass at these schools. Now, this is going to be an extra cost that the district is going to have to take that, you know, we should have been able to find out those details in conversations here. So my request is just, when you guys are in here, ask as many questions as possible. Any types of things, if they give you like owner's manuals or things of that nature, or if they talk about how they do the process. Just, again, knowing this one school, he said all his glass is 1 inch thick. So anyways, that's my call from a board member that's visited some of the schools. And again, I appreciate the hard work that you guys do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Next, we have Pilar Costa-Ruiz.
Good afternoon. My name is Pilar Acosta Ruiz. I haven't been here for a little while, but I would like to request that you once again consider changing the time of this meeting so that the public can more easily attend. Most of the population is working, the people who are paying the taxes on their property taxes, such as myself. Also, a little recommendation would be maybe putting some notices out in like the Daily Star or somewhere, because this is a lot of money that the taxpayers have approved, and it would be nice if they knew there were meetings. Nobody goes to the TUSD website, I'm sorry. Nobody goes to look for a meeting, to go, what can I do on Thursday? Also, I see you have an agenda item that's about appointments. It's my understanding that only the school board can make appointments. So based on statute, I don't know if you can deal with that item today. Also, wow, what Mr. Romero said. So I know that people on this committee have asked for specs before, owner's manuals, things like that, and it's been denied. And now, wow, like what an oversight. Somebody has to be doing a better job of due diligence on their contracts. And perhaps in the procurement policies of contracts, that contract perhaps could get canceled, and maybe find a local provider who actually can maybe do a better job. And lastly, I don't think we've had one yet, and maybe I missed it because I don't look at the website all the time, but I think it's time for a town hall to let the public know where you guys are with the bond money, like how you're spending it, not just doing it here, but to do it for the public. I think in the name of transparency, that would be a really good idea in helping TUSD improve its reputation. Thank you for the work you do and your volunteerism.
Thank you. Would anybody like to make any comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to see if we could get some clarification. Ms. Costa Ruiz had asked about item 4.01 on the agenda. It does say appointment of Bond Oversight Committee Chair and Vice Chair, and I'm wondering if we could just get some clarification. Is that wording? I would just like to know what that is. You got it?
Thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, so specifically for the appointment of a chair and a vice chair, your bylaws, which have been approved by the governing board, allow you to appoint a chair and a vice chair. So the only thing you can't do is directly appoint a member. You make recommendations on membership to the board, but the vice chair and the chair positions are entirely within your purview.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Norquist?
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you to both of our speakers, Mr. Romero and Ms. Ruiz, for coming out in the middle of the day, as you mentioned, to comment on things. I'm curious primarily about the item that Mr. Romero brought up about the security film. I think it would be definitely in our interest to find an answer to the question of whether or not the glass thickness on the schools is being prohibitive in terms of applying the film. I don't know any details, but I think we should find details about that, because if it is the case that the school glass as it stands can't support the security film and that we have to buy new glass, that is an additional expense that we have not considered. And it would be good to know, is that going to be coming out of the bond also? Do we need to make a special allowance for it? What is the story on that? So,
Thank you, Mr. Norquist. We'll go ahead and put that on the agenda for next meeting, and Dr. Carter can get back that information for us.
and then otherwise, I also want to just follow up on Ms. Ruiz's comments. She mentioned several items. One of them was to revisit changing the time of the meeting to make it more accommodating to people. I think that would be a reasonable thing to consider now that we're going into our second year. You just mentioned it's our anniversary, so I didn't even realize. Seems like time's gone by so quickly. And then she also mentioned notices. She mentioned that people don't often visit the TUSD website. I think that would be worth a discussion. I have received the forwarded copies of the bond newsletter. I think it's great that that's coming out, but it would be maybe worth revisiting, seeing how the community at large is being informed that we do have these meetings, because I can honestly see how it would be the case that people who might want to be here are not being informed.
Thank you, Mr. Norquist. We'll go ahead and put both discussing the time of our meetings at our next agenda, as well as I do know that it's also included in the family emails. It's not just on our website. But I think Dr. Carter can give us more information and updates in regards to how this information is getting out.
Yeah, sure.
As well
that
as
would
the
be great.
town hall. The town hall is scheduled for April 3rd.
Okay.
So I'll let Dr. Carter speak more on that during updates.
Okay.
But we
great.
will put time up for discussion at our next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank
Okay.
you very
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Norquist.
Yeah.
Ms. Arvizu.
I would just like to speak to Mr. Romero's comment. When the security film, people came out to give a presentation to the Bond Oversight Committee. It's not working. Two separate times we were informed of glass replacement and were notified of that both separate times that the glass needed to be replaced to fit the film. We were aware of that as a board. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Arvizu. Did Mr. Anthony, did you have something? No? Anyone else? Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to also ask for the next item on the agenda regarding the issue that Mr. Romero brought up. If you can tell us.
Mr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you bring it closer to you, or you speak a bit louder,
Can you hear
please?
me now? I think it's on.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
It's on, we just can't hear you. Or I can't.
Hello?
Yeah, that's better. There you go.
Thank you.
If we could get some information at the next agenda item that Mr. Romero had brought up, how many schools have actually been installed with a safety glass where the actual glasses on there has had to be replaced? And how much does it cost us to do that? And are there any other schools that fit into that same category, and what the cost would be? So we can have an idea
That,
of what that would be.
that's part of today's updates, Mr. Gonzalez. So
Pardon?
That's part of today's updates from Dr. Carter. So if at the
Oh,
end of
that's
the
part of
meeting,
the presentation?
yeah, if there's still
Great,
more
okay.
discussion, we can add it
Great.
onto future agenda.
And also, let me comment on the testimony by Ms. Ruiz, that I believe we ought to be looking at the times that we're meeting, because we are meeting somewhat early, and most people who might want to come to one of our meetings probably can't come because they might be working families out there. Perhaps we might want to have a meeting every now and then, or every other meeting or something later in the evening or later in the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you everyone for your comments. We'll move on now to item 4.01, appointment of Bond Oversight Committee Chair and Vice Chair. As I stated earlier, it's our 1-year anniversary. So with that, our Bond Oversight Committee, the charter does state that we will be elect a chair and vice chair annually. So at this time, if anybody would like to recommend anyone else or anyone for the as chair?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Arbiz, Blue.
I think my microphone's not working either.
You want to share?
It's good? You can hear it? Okay. All right, no, that's fine. I just couldn't hear myself loud enough. I would like to nominate Ms. Miranda Carter, our current chair, to serve as the chair again for this year. I think she's done a very good job. It's been a little bit of a learning curve, having not chaired a committee or anything like that before, and I think she's done really well. And she's been really committed, hasn't missed a meeting, so unlike myself. So I would like to nominate Ms. Miranda Carter.
I'll second. And I would also like to make a move that we do the same for Ms. Blue if you're up for the chats. I have no problem with how things have run personally.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll second your vice chair nomination.
Is that okay to do both at the same time?
Let's do the chair first.
Okay, so is there anybody else? Nobody else wanted to throw in their name, or should we?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Gonzalez for vice chair, pending his willingness to accept, since this is probably coming as a surprise to him.
Well, Madam Chair, Peter, I truly appreciate your confidence. However, I'm not wanting to accept that at this time. I have a number of items on my plate that I need to work out, and I feel comfortable with Ms. Blue continuing on. As you know, when we had the discussion on the charter, I was one of the persons who wanted to have a limitation on continuous chairmanships for no more than 2 years. And so, having said that, I don't have any issues with the current chairman serving again. However, I will request that we make a change in the charter to do what I had initially suggested, that we shouldn't have a chair serve more than 2 consecutive terms. I think we need to do that. We have enough talented people here. No, we didn't change it. We have enough talented people on this committee that can serve as chair, and I think it's only fair that we do that. So with that, I thank you, Peter, for the nomination. However, I'd have to decline.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. So I will double check on that. I thought we had made that revision to the charter, but I'll double check. So we'll go ahead and do, we don't need to do roll call, do we?
It's up to you.
No.
I thought you were raising your hand.
No, that's all.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and vote first for chair, then we'll do a separate vote for vice chair, just so that there's clarification. So all in favor, thank you all, by the way, for your words, Ms. Blue.
You do accept, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate your words and for your patience, because it has been a learning experience for me. I'm still learning a year later. but everybody's been very kind, very patient. I love the work that we've done. I'm really proud of the work that we have done and continue to do. So with that, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of Erica Miranda Carter staying as chair, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstain? Motion-
Well, no, not understood why we first step. Really, no.
I didn't hear him.
No, I think somebody was talking in the background of.
Okay, I'm not sure if somebody has their microphone on, or somebody was trying to talk to us, but we didn't hear you. So it's, motion passed. Erica Miranda Carter will stay as chair. Thank you all very much. So now we'll go ahead and vote for Ms. Sophia Blue as vice chair. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Ms. Blue will stay on as vice chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Okay, moving on to item 4.02, bond project updates. Dr. Carter?
Good afternoon, everybody. First, and congratulations on the BOC chair and also the vice chair and all the board members. We're back. It is my absolute, and oh, you guys know, I'm Dr. Charlotte Carter. I go by Dr. C. It is my absolute pleasure and honor to stand before you 1 year. This is my anniversary today, which is also, we share anniversaries. So happy anniversary, BOC. It's kind of funny. You guys give me 1 minute to talk personally with you. I started with TUSD this time last year from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had been in Arizona all of one time in my life, and it was Phoenix for a Project Management Institute conference. And all I remember is hot. That's about it. It was a great conference as well. But this time last year, you guys were getting introduced with me on the screen. I don't know if you guys remember, because I was remote. I was in Oklahoma, 1,500 miles away. And in April, our first bond oversight committee where I was actually facilitating, I flew in with my dog, Charlie. I know you guys know a little bit about him. And my boyfriend packed up all my belongings, and he drove all night to meet me here. So it's a little emotional for me because this is where I wanted to be. I'm towards the end of my career, and I wanted to be somewhere where it could be impactful. So I just thank you for your patience. Oh, is that a plane going over? Yes. Not just kidding. Oh, maybe that's a salute? Yeah, a flyover that I can't see. A flyby, yeah. So congratulations, though, for being a group that's been so supportive and asking some hard questions and us growing together. Because it truly, to oversee $500 million almost is a big task. And I know that I have a different philosophy and, go slow to go fast. And we talk about some of these projects that we're getting ready to do that's going to cause some of the summer programs to go to a different location. I know this is different, it's new, but it's been a pleasure to be able to accomplish what we've done so far together. So on our grounding, we're going to do the grounding as usual, the project status, the bond communication, and key updates. As usual, TUSD is committed to transparency, accountability, collaboration, excellence, customer service, and trusting relationships. And that is what we have tried to do the full year that we have been working with you. Also, of course, we talked about the charter, the BOC charter, that we review the scope and roles and responsibilities, and that's part of what we do. BOC and TUSD are partners and advocates, and I'm going to be asking more of you because we're going to need it. And Katie's looking at me because she's been, as well as Erica, like in the trenches on some of these things with us because we're doing big work now. I'm going to ask you to hold your questions to the end, and then we still have the prioritized data requests that if you have, let us know what those are and try to think about how it might impact the community or how it impacts the vote, because we still want to make sure we're transparent. And it does take a lot of time, depending on what the request is, for us to gather. And it's so much work to do. And Owen, he's also been in the trenches with me as a student at Rincon in some of the things that we're doing there. So everybody knows it's a lot of work to do, but it's our pleasure to get the data. We just need to know what is it you want, because data, if it's not what you want, it's going to be a waste of time. And I don't like wasting time. All right. So here we are. I want to give you guys a recap. I wish I could quiz you. Now, you guys do know I'm a teacher at heart. I just didn't take that path fully, But I wanted to kind of reminisce on what we've done together, because I bet you aren't aware of all the things we've done. And I'm not going to tell you everything because it would take too long. But so far, on our 1-year anniversary, we have spent $35 million on projects. We have approved through the Bond Oversight Committee and Governing Board $70 million worth of projects from Q1 to Q4. You guys remember when I first started about Q1? Let's just do 4 projects. Okay. We have actually had 200 projects that are either done or in process. 200, right at 196. And some of the projects I don't put on the dashboard until we're at the point where you're seeing things out on site. So like all the administrative things we're doing, we have way more projects than that. But what the voters and what they can see, we have 200 projects. We talked about, and we reprioritized too, right? So on the HVAC, we've done 14 full package units at schools, 14 schools, way more package units, because it could be multiple, 34, 35 at a school. But 14 schools have been received package units. 17 schools, right, have the controls. So that's 34, and some of the schools may be duplicate with controls and with package units. But when we say that we're doing HVAC and taking that seriously, we are. And so we're getting ready to start. And you remember that as the project manager, the program manager, as the team, we have to complete and monitor, but we have to be thinking ahead. And while we're approving, because remember one of the things that we did is I heard the Bond Oversight Committee and Governing Board loud and clear when you said you wanted more time to study the projects. I don't know if you guys realize that you have up to 3 months to study a project. I have not come up, not since this was identified in August, to have a project approved that same month. But the other thing that we had changed, and I think Raghu had mentioned this, is that if you notice, we give you the presentation, You review the presentation ahead of time, then we present. We may have to come back. Security film was one of those instances. So you have up to 3 months, and then at the third month, if we can't make a decision, then we need to move on. Okay, so that's one of the things we've done. Security gates and fencing. We had 32 prioritized. We have Q2. We have 5, I believe. Security vehicles, security film, AEDs. So these are things that, you know, when we say we're emphasizing security, safety, and then we'll talk a little bit about the improvements to classroom and learning spaces. So that's a lot. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize that, but I would say you should give yourself a hand. All right, so let's talk about the specifics on the security fencing and gates. And everybody, and it's also on the website, on the board, you know, when you go to the board docs, you guys get every single month all the projects. And it has the statuses. So if you wanted to see what's been completed in security film or what's been completed in security fencing, it's all there. Now, the only thing I will say is, remember, I have to get my information to you ahead of time. So now this is outdated. We have way more progress and projects because that was 2 weeks ago. So I'm giving you the latest and greatest, but you do have this where it says bond project schedule. That's the projects with their statuses. And that was something I believe Cindy asked for. Yeah, because you said you wanted red, yellow, and blue, and green. So that was also one of the things that we provided. Okay, so for security gates and fencing, we are 75% complete for Q2. Sam Hughes, Calon, and Ford are complete. Sabino's in process, and you guys can look at your sheet to look at the other details. HVAC, and we're doing controls, right? Q2, and it's bleeding to Q3. We're 74% complete. But if you look at that, the majority of the 17 HVAC controls are like 99%. So I'm push for March 31st for those to get completed. Okay. Oh, I forgot to say HVAC kitchens. And let's hold to the end if you don't mind. So HVAC kitchens right now, you know, we approved for Q3. So just so you guys know, we're in Q3 right now, right? And April 1st, we go to Q4. Okay, so HVAC kitchens right now, we are submitting RQs. One of the things that we committed to do, and I think Jeffrey, you know, has mentioned this before, is we want to see if we can get other funding sources. So we were checking with SFD, and so for Robeson, they did pay for the design on that one. But we, you know, Dr. C, I'm trying to get more and more and more money. But at some point, because we're affecting summer and summer school and how we move forward for the new year, I have to call it. And so we're doing drop dead meetings to say, okay, if we don't get the funding at this point so we can complete the project, then we have to go ahead and use bond funds. So that's what we've been doing. And you guys already know the HVAC kitchens that we are doing. Okay, on marquees. We have completed Doolin and McGee. You guys remember some of the schools that already got marquees before, well, you know, with other funding sources. So we just keep going down the line. And if you notice on marquees, I also put Q4 because we have, I believe it's 11. So we are already, so remember, we have to work way ahead of time to be able to fulfill the different quarters. So at this point, they're getting quotes from the vendor. And one of the things we did, that Ms. Diana helped us with, We hear you loud and clear. Let's have more than one vendor. That also helps us from a fairness point of view, but also that means I can have two vendors working at the same time, getting more done at a time. So that's what we are with the marquees. Domestic water line, that's our big one. Not saying the other ones aren't big, but this is very big for us. And as you guys know, with the domestic water line, of course, we doing Sabino, Catalina, and Tucson High. You guys know that. So the quotes are getting obtained, but there is, I think Denise, she told me that we've done over 100 meetings about working with the schools and operations to be able to do this. Because we are asking and have asked, so we started way back in November, me and Ricky, I think it was just me and Ricky, Damon too, went to the regionals because I'm used to having the time to be able to do projects in the summer. That was a normal thing in Tulsa. We knew every year there were going to be construction projects, usually 10 to 13, and that we needed the school, meaning we don't need staff there, we don't need students there, we need the school to do upgrades. That is a cadence that we need to do here. There is no way that we can do 73 domestic water lines, which is what's slated in the bond. And we may have to do it differently because that is a lot. But right now, I'm just going by right now, there's 73 schools for domestic water line. We've done one with Rincon. You guys remember? I didn't even mention that. We had an emergency last year. You remember? We had to do yeah, you know about Rincon. And that actually, Rincon, in a way, was a blessing in disguise, right, Damon? Because what it did, we are lifelong learners, right? We learn from that. And so we took what we learned to do the planning for this one. So Dr. C, I went down in the tunnels. I was scared a little bit with everybody because I'm very hands-on. Everybody, well, you'll see. I'm very hands-on. So as we were doing the final walkthrough, I want to see this $1.3 million investment. What does this get us? What does it look like? So if somebody asked me. Well, anyway, I went in there and it was interesting. It was very interesting how far below it is. And I was like, what happens if something goes wrong? And, I'm already planning my exit strategy. No. Anyway, but with the domestic water line, because I have a curious nature, I asked the vendors that were there. So they had the plumbers, they had, all the contractors that were involved. And I asked them, how can we have made this better? And what they told me is this: if we would have had the building where we didn't have staff and students and we didn't have to work around people and worry about the smell and then worry about safety hazards, if we could have had the building, we could have had multiple crews there at a time. We could have done things much differently. And then the other thing they said is planning. So Damon and I, which is a dynamic duo, no Batman without Robin. And we what can we do? And right away I knew that we got to start now. We can't wait, and we don't want to wait until it's an emergency. So we want to be proactive. So that's how that came into being, is that to know that, and I thought, okay, if I want to do this for the summer, I probably need to get permission. And how does that impact the whole entire district? Again, I'm used to that, but not everybody here is, right, Katie? And as a result of that, that's why the summer programs are being moved to a different location, and staff is being moved to a different location. And so what Dr. C has asked, and Damon have asked, is that no one is on campus at those 3 schools except the maintenance technician / engineer. And they're there to be able to give information to the contractors and have Johnny on the spot right there. Okay, so what does that mean to the staff? And what does that mean to the community? What does that mean? So that's where all these various meetings come into place, because we have to physically move people. And when I say physically, and like I said, in Tulsa, Blaine can attest, we did this every year, but that's gonna inconvenience people. And I've been really talking to people and explaining there cannot be change if there's no change. There cannot be upgrades and progress if we stay the same. And everybody gets that at first, but then when it's your turn, another thing, people like, one of the questions came up was, what's gonna happen with my fish and my plants? Are you moving them? And I thought that was an interesting question, but I had to address it. Because that for that person, that's real, because that's part of them. And so it's been a learning experience for everybody. We're setting repeatable processes, because this is going to happen every year. So it does not make sense for us to, even if our process is not the exact best process, so that's where your process improvement happens and your change management happens, but you have to start with a process. So we've met with grounds, we've met with child nutrition, we've met with the mail room, we met with property control, we met with technology, we met with the custodians, we have met literally with almost every single person that we could think of, and we still are discovering things all the time. So that's what domestic water line is, so we can have the improvements, and so we can be proactive opposed to reactive, because we don't want to be on TV, or we want to be for the good things, like what happened at Sabino with the lights or things of that nature. So just giving you an update on that. And we are waiting, Damon, right, for SFD possibly funding. That's why we kind of held off on that. But we have a drop dead date of March 31st. If we haven't heard, we got to go ahead with the bond. But we are trying to take every single opportunity, if within the timelines designated, it makes sense to use other funding besides the bond. Okay. So parking and pavement and parking lots is another area that we're waiting on SFD or funding as well. So we haven't moved on that, because at this point, it's not critical path. Critical path means that if you don't do it like right now, then it's gonna, be catastrophic for your project. We are not there yet, okay? So fine arts, and I did see Dr. Ashcraft here as well. We're still waiting on, we want to get another competitive bid for possibly, I haven't brought this to you guys yet because I wanted to have numbers. I mean, I know everybody wants to know the numbers. So I wanted to wait to that, but basically she had a priority list. Anybody that we're doing projects on, I was like, I can't do everything. What's your priority? Like, what's your number one priority? So we're looking at her number one priority, getting additional quotes. And then my hope is in April, that would be everything that we wanted to be for Q3 and 4. I thought it was going to be really last month. But, as needs come before me, I feel obligated to let you know. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, on the HVAC package units, you remember I had the $7 million just in case. Right? We knew that Ross Rouge was one of them that we needed to go and do controls for. I think there's around 300,000. Since then, we discovered another school that we need to do some controls first, which is Tolson. We met with the principal and we talked about that. So at this point, we went ahead, actually the quote came in through for that. So we will be addressing that particular need. All right. Interscholastic field lighting. Now this is super, super exciting. On last Tuesday, a couple of days ago, we actually had the celebration for Sabino field lights. And their homeowners association was there, and some of the community members. it was K-Gun, I think Channel 9 that was there. I had a speech. I actually wrote a speech. I haven't done a speech in a long time. Anyway, I wrote a little speech, and I was able to tell them to turn the lights on, and the lights came on. The lights with the LED, all the benefits it has, and really for the community, my understanding, I did Google it, they have been asking for us to do something about lights for a long time because how it impacts them, and apparently there's a lot of astronomers and different things of that nature. So they were so happy and excited. The lights can do different colors. They coordinate it with music, and they can just light up the whole stage. There's a beautiful picture, which, like I said, I turned the presentation 2 weeks ago. Next time, I'll bring that presentation. If you go to the bond2023.org, TUSD1.org, you will see that beautiful picture. It's like phenomenal. I love it. So we have a shout out to communications for doing that. So with the field lighting, Sabino's just one of the schools that are getting it: Pueblo, Cholla, Sahara, and Tucson. So these are all things you guys approved, and I think doing Pueblo right now, and Cholla is next, I think. And Cholla is next. So we're just going down the line, and these are all things that you guys have approved. Okay, so the curtains, we've been keeping, the curtains have been beautiful, and I think you guys saw the pictures from that. I think just yesterday, I want to say, we got, was that Rincon Little? That we got the stage curtains request. So we're going down the list with that. We're waiting on the one project we talked about that I'll present to you guys formally. I don't want to let the cat out the bag until we actually have the numbers. And then security film. So I did want to address the security film. We did let everyone know that the security film is 2 costs. One was a bond cost, and one was the actual, I don't know if it's general fund exactly, but Ricky was taking care of those costs. So up to date, just so if you want to know, we just got the invoice for $132,000, and so we knew that all of our schools did not have the thickness that they needed. Some of them may have bullet holes. It's a plethora of different things could happen, but we knew that and considered the cost, and that went through the governing board, and they approved that. And then for there's an additional $42,000 for the, and this is just the window pieces. So I think it was trying to find my sheet, $174,000. So that's the window piece. That's a prerequisite of the security film that we're doing, because we have to have the right standards for us to apply that to the window. Okay, so then there was a question on what projects. Again, it does say on here the projects that have been completed, but I do want to just mention that as well. I actually did you guys receive, I think you did, the newsletters? I did a video on the security film newsletter at Johnson. So out of the ones that are completed, Johnson, Solon Tom, Yoami, I hope I didn't mess that up, Vesey, and Warren. So those are the 5. They have been out this week. They were doing Monzo, Borden, Brickta, and Carrillo. Oh, after a year, I'm still struggling, but I'm doing better, though, I think. Right, Ricky? Am I doing better? Okay, Ricky says I'm doing better. Okay. So it's in progress. It is definitely it's a large project. It's 49 schools. They're all listed on here. The ones, they're elementary school, and then I believe it's 2 primary, Brickta, and I forgot the other, Brickta, Shoemaker, yes. So that's an update, and hopefully that's a pretty detailed on that. Okay, we still going on. Transportation. with the safety vehicles, you guys remember you approved that. We're thinking that will happen in May, that we'll actually get the deliveries. I'm looking at Kenny. Yes, May of 2025, so coming up. All right. So since we're talking about buses, I'll go ahead and give you a couple of more updates on the special needs buses. You guys remember the diesel buses? We have 9 on site. And we bought magnets, not bond, the bond program, bond department bought magnets that say the same thing. Progress is promised, your bond dollars at work. So we'll be able, when they're in service or whatever, to put, I think I bought 10 magnets. So, I mean, we want to, everywhere we go, and hopefully you guys have been seeing the banners out. We've spent a lot of time and effort trying to get those out to sites. So it'd be 9 buses on site, and we're in the process of assigning them to routes. That's exciting. And the 20 diesel buses, the 72 passenger buses, it's a possibility, I'm not gonna promise you, but possibility to have those on site by May. Okay. Another exciting thing is the EV as well. 25% of the project is complete. And right now, so I go visit like almost every other day. It's over by, somebody says, don't call it LIRC, it's LIRC. But to me, isn't it say LIRC? But anyway, right over there. And actually, Erica, at the beginning, she did get a chance to see the progress. But currently, right now, they have completed the trenching and they're installing the conduit for the charging stations. Very exciting. Okay. You guys bored yet? This is all the things that you approve. Progress is promised. Okay. Health office upgrades, we're waiting on quotes for that. The career technical education, remember we did approve the automobile upgrades? They started getting equipment already. So they are starting, I have pictures of that, but like I said, that I just got those. But you'll see that further next time. And are more than likely, you'll see that in the newsletter. So Denise is doing the newsletter for us, and we're trying to get that out like mid-month of every month. So I figured that would be a good way for you guys to get updates in between the regular updates that I give. Camp Cooper cabin upgrades, we're entering the requisition. And there's a misprint on here, well, a typo more or less. It's not 100 replacement Chromebooks, it's 1,000. They're about, so those Chromebooks, we think it's RQ coming in for that. So that one's in process. And not last but not least, is replace the portable permanent structure. So, you know, we have Rincon, UHS, and Davis, and Tucson High. And Tucson High is really not a new structure. That is the V building. The V building. See, I'm getting it. You think I've been here 10 years. Not just kidding. So we have actually, Owen was able to go on the walkthrough where we were trying to figure out where exactly we're going to put the building. And all of this is, to me, super, super exciting. It's a lot, but it's good work. It's good work. So real quick, I'm going to show you Project More. And since then, we have had even more pictures of the gates and the fencing at Project More. This is some of the trenching, and this is, I mean, they're way past this now, the EV bus charger stations at the transportation yard. And that's the Sabino lights. We got even better pictures though on the bond website. It's phenomenal. And we, at this point, already did the ceremony. All right. So communications. So we have the newsletter. We've done 2 actual editions of it. Every edition is going to be what's up in the bond office. I know it's corny, but I love it. Because if somebody can ask what's happening, we're letting you know, and we're doing it with a video. So every month we'll have some type of video as long as I can. Now I know I'm not communications, and I know we don't have necessary professional videographer, which Ben, raise your hand, Ben. He's the video. So we're thinking about investing in some lights and, maybe some better software, So, but that's one of the things we want to do because I think it really helps you see progress in real time. We already talked about the summer project meetings. We've done over 100. I'm not even counting anymore. It's what needs to be done. Right, Katie? Katie's a jewel. She's met with some of the office managers, and they've been right by my side, her and as well as Mike Dunn, to help us, I would just say, be able to explain what we're doing, sometimes negotiate, sometimes cry, no, just kidding, but sometimes just really help people understand the why. I think that's super important because we're trying to build what we call a culture of sisterhood and change. And that's huge. Someone mentioned, why don't we do a town hall? Well, I'm so glad you asked. We're doing a town hall April 3rd from 5 to 6:30. I had posters for you. I think they said we have to do it at the end. This is where I need you. People will be more apt to attend something if someone they knows invites them. Who might that be? Red, who might that be to invite community and public?
PTOs.
Say what now?
Parent-teacher organizations.
Oh, what about you?
What about me?
Yeah. What about your friends and your colleagues or constituents? If people have questions about the bond, that's what the town halls are for. That's another avenue. So we will give you your own personal, and it was not bought with bond funds, poster. It has a QR code on it. It has the link on there, everything. So I'm hoping that you guys will help us with that. So key dates, our meeting, Q4 begins April 1st. The virtual bond town hall is April 3rd, 5 to 6:30. So I can take questions now.
We can't hear you.
Are we posting those signs in the schools?
Well, multiple things. They're delivering that. Actually, they should be at the schools by Friday. So they basically put it in in-office mail, and they're actually sending it to all 88 schools. That's one way. We put it in the news, that newsletter. Remember we had talked about? You guys should have seen that if you get that newsletter from the district. We basically work with the communications group. They're doing social media. I mean, they're doing all these means. In addition, I'm asking you and the people, like the domestic water lines, particularly in HVAC, I'm personally going to those principals and asking them to put in their newsletter because they're the ones that are getting these large, big projects, and it's their students and families in particular. So I've gotten confirmations from several of the principals that they're going to be putting them specifically in their newsletter, and I wrote a blurb for them to use. And then we're going to do our financial social media too, which I already got that going.
Is there a link that can be sent to us so that we can share like on our socials and all that.
Yes.
And may I suggest maybe those schools that have gotten marquees possibly put that date on there
I
so that the
can.
community can see those?
I can. Yeah, we did give them like, it wasn't the virtual town hall, it was the Progress is Promise graphic, but we have the graphic too for the virtual town hall, so we can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Anybody else? Ms. Bell?
Is this, hello? Okay. So it's come to my attention through my work, an issue at Rincon UHS that I think I'd like researched and looked into, because I understand from someone that works there, and maybe Owen can vouch for that, that they have electrical issues where they blow fuses and then people have to go flip the breakers back on, and it's throughout the school. It's not just in a particular room. So
Repairs we can't do. That's not bondable. So that definitely we can. I don't know if Greg is here or Blaine. Yeah. But I definitely, from the bond perspective, I mean, I can only do projects, but not operations. But thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Ms. Coleman, did you have something? No?
No, I've just been hearing from other schools some similar issues with, and knowing that it's a repair, and so that needs to go to operations. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez?
So I understand that on, excuse me, on the film security, the glass, we're not having any issues there. The issue that Mr. Romero brought up regarding the cost of removing, we're okay there, Ricky? We're paying that out of a different fund?
Yeah, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we identified another source of funding in order to cover the glass and to do the installation, so that then the window film can be installed, and that's the only component being paid for with bond money.
Good. Okay, it might be a good idea to let the board member know. He's not here now.
Well, we have our board liaison, so she can communicate with our board members.
Very good.
For sure.
Very
Yeah,
good.
but I think that they should know.
I do have
Am I wrong?
another question for Dr. Carter. Excuse me. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to listen to some of the requests from Pueblo High School regarding their field, their football field, for repair. We have in the project descriptions for Pueblo $275,000 for field repair. My question is, I don't know if you've heard about that request, but where is that in terms of the priorities?
Yeah, and actually, I had spoke with, I believe, Mr. Frank, Principal Frank, when I first got here in May. And we talked about fields and such. And as you know, originally we had our 5 criteria, which we were ranking things. And so we said that also that HVAC, and that we were going to do the safety and security, and then we were going to do the improvements to the classroom. So now that we're a year later, we can look at some of the other type of requests. So that's what we're doing. Yes, I saw the article. I'm fully aware of the request. I believe it went to the governing board as well. And so we're just looking at what would that look like. Now, remember, you guys have a responsibility in that too. It's going to be like everything else. When people want to move something up, then I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to research costs, research options, bring it to you. Then you guys have that time frame where you're going to, say, is this thing need to be moved up, or where do we want to put on the priority list? Because initially, our focus was not fields. It was HVAC. It was, the things we've been talking about so far. But yeah, we're working on it.
Thank you very much for that information. I was out there and visited the area, and it is pretty bad. I guess football season is starting here pretty soon. It could be dangerous out there. I would request and suggest that you bring back some information regarding that and see if we can make that a priority, hopefully making sure that it doesn't jeopardize any of the other projects that are ongoing.
So the thinking,
Dr. Carter, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ms. Ekstrom, did you want to speak?
Sorry, I just came from a track meet and we have to go get our daughter. But when we talk about fields and football fields, we also have to remember that we have to prioritize the other schools too. So we may want to come back, if that's what the bond committee wants to do all the schools at once, because we don't want to make it seem like we're prioritizing one school over another. So that's something that we might want to think about. And then one question, the schools that will be affected for summer, do you have a list of those schools? Okay, if I can just be provided that. But I have to go get my daughter, so I'm glad that I was able to be here for a little while, and then I'll be updated on what else you have done. And I will talk to Mr. Romero as well.
Thank you, Ms. Ekstrom. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, my intent here is not to jeopardize any other project or put it ahead of another project that's important. But I think we need to look at the need here and what might be a safety issue.
yeah, and just so you know, myself and Damon, we went to, because I'm one of those people I want to see for myself. And so we went to Pueblo, we went to Sabino, and I went to Choya because I wanted to see a field that actually had been repaired, to see what that looks like, you know, the sustainability, there's a lot of things to consider. But you guys will get your chance. We'll come back. We're already working on it. We'll have the numbers, we'll have the considerations, and then that's part of what your job is to help us do.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. And
Thank
I
you
was
very
actually
much.
going to speak on what Ms. Ekstrom stated. I agree entirely that we do need to look at all our fields before we address one specific school. They all need our attention, as well as many other projects out there. So as much I hear them, I saw the articles, I saw the posts as well. I've read the comments from our community. There's a lot of projects that need our attention. And we do, just like we prioritized HVACs, security, as bond oversight, that is what we have to prioritize also. And yes, we're definitely going to consider fields, but this goes back to our last meeting, that we need those principal interviews to be done so that we know what the needs are in all of our schools, not just football fields, so that we can make responsible decisions about which projects are going to be prioritized.
So you know what she's talking about. They're not necessary interviews, they're surveys. And so the surveys, I have one little adjustment. I've worked with I think her name is Dinah. There's a person that is a data analyst or data analytics. It's Dinah. And so she has created the survey already in SurveyMonkey. Is just ready for, and Ricky's already reviewed it. We're good to go. So my hope is that we'll be able to get that to the principals next week, at the very latest the week after, but more than likely next week. So just so you guys know, remember when we talked about that 5 criteria? One of those was the principal surveys. And I did go back and research, and it was only like a third of the principals responded. That was at the formulation of the bond. To me, that's pretty low. And so, because I'm hearing different things, and I just want to be informed as we make decisions, to just know what's out there. And then sometimes principals are asking, well, we don't even play basketball, so why do we need the basketball shade or X or Y and Z? So anyway, this is a way where we can get both empirical data, well, not empirical, but qualitative and quantitative data, which is what I need, what we need. And so we'll be able to understand, from the principal's perspective. And the other thing you guys have to realize, your bond is developed ahead of schedule. So what you needed 2 or 3 years ago may not be what you need necessarily now. But the thing is, we have what was approved by the citizens. We do have some flexibility, but this is really to inform. It's not saying we changing priorities, it's not saying that, but it does give us data and information for us to make informed decisions. So anyway, that's done, just doing the fine tuning on the survey, which I'm thinking we're probably going to get a better response rate now. Any other questions?
Mr. Norquist?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to, and you already partially answered one just now. The first is just clarifying. On the bond status report, there is one project that is listed as abandoned. What does that mean?
Which project are you talking about?
That's the HVAC for Carrillo.
Because we're waiting on SFD funding process, possibly. So I want to wait until, you know, how we make the go, no go date decision.
Right.
We want to see if they will fund it. If they won't, then we'll have to put it back on our list.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you. That was the only one with that particular label, so I was just curious. And then just going back to what you just mentioned about the principal surveys. So forgive me if I missed it, but what exactly is the timeline with those? Because my other question before you mentioned that at the end of your presentation was going to be what is the progress on speaking with principals and the timeline? So could you just go into a little bit more detail about that?
So like I just mentioned, principal surveys next week to be
Okay, so
dispersed.
next-
I've already have the survey. I've already gone over Ricky. I already got the initial approval. It just needs to be fine polished. So next week, at the latest, the week after, but more than likely next week because we're that close.
Right. Okay. So the survey goes out. The principals hopefully fill it out, all of them, and then they return the survey by email. That's the basic process.
So basically what we're doing, and it'll be email, but or it may be a newsletter, or both, because everybody communicates different. But I'm personally will be sending it out. So they may pay attention, they may not. The regionals also have their newsletter, so it'll go out. Well, I haven't asked them yet, but I'm sure they'll be fine with sending out because that is our other method and means of getting information. So that's the way we will, and give them a deadline, just like everything else, and get the results. But I think principals are hungry to be able to provide feedback. And one of the particular questions is, like I said, it's qualitative and quantitative data, but one of it is, you know, is there anything you would like to tell the bond? Right. You know, so I think it's the perfect way at this point, because we're a year in. I've actually had some time to go to schools myself. We've done quite a few projects already, and things change. The world's changing. Tariffs, just all different types of things. So I think it's a good time to get feedback.
Okay, thank you very much for that, and I appreciate you doing that. I think that it is a very efficient way to reach out and try to net a lot of initial feedback from people who want to give it.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. If there's no more questions, anyone? I move to approve these updates.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Arvizu. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Carter.
Happy anniversary.
Alrighty then. So hoping everybody's had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our last meeting. I move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Second by Ms. Blue. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, minutes are approved. Moving on to item 5.01, update on HVAC controls and network cybersecurity. Dr. Carter. Yes, ma'am.
Progress is promised. I believe it was a request from the Bond Oversight Committee to get more information about HVAC controls and how they work and the security. So we have with us from Veritech, Justin, is it Sipe? Sipe. So he is a subject matter expert. They handle a lot of our controls. So we have a presentation for you. so you can be able to be informed of the overview and the technical issues.
Sorry, as I get old, eyesight's getting bad. My name's Justin Sipe. I am with Veritech, and thank you for allowing us to be here today. Bond Committee, thank you for doing the great work that you have. A lot of great things happening. First year, chair, vice chair nominations. So what we want to talk about is we want to emphasize on the importance of cybersecurity within HVAC controls. So as it pertains to this district, the presentation submitted that you see on the screen now is a lot of background information, very detailed in the controls and capabilities within the network. But what we're going to go over specifically is why cybersecurity is so important to HVAC controls. So we're going to go to slide 14. You got a table of contents, but we're going to go to slide 14. So this gives us a brief overview on cybersecurity and the importance and factors that it allows with controls. There is no more important institution to the future prosperity and strength of the United States than our nation's K-12 education system. This is demonstrated by U.S. cybersecurity industry's commitment and investment of $92.7 billion in 2025. TUSD and K-12 schools across the country have increasingly adopted networking technologies that facilitate learning and make schools more efficient and effective. This technology is important for the safety and security of staff and students. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, recommends all organizations, regardless of size, adopt a heightened posture when it comes to cybersecurity and protecting your most critical assets. The implementation of this technology will reduce the likelihood of damaging cyber incidents, as well as taking steps to detect a potential intrusion. As technology advances on control systems, it is critical that these technologies have security measures in place due to the constant advancement of threats. The technology that TUSD is utilizing is SOC 2 Type 2 certified, which has dual authentication, and it is continuously tested to ensure the highest level of cybersecurity. TUSD preferred controls partners are aligned with America's Cyber Defense Agency's goals that technology providers must take ownership and execute and at an executive level to ensure their products are secure by design. Happy anniversary, everyone. I'll put it right. This technology that is currently being installed and utilized is replacing the aging systems within the district. To meet current standards of cybersecurity, to unlock the true potential of results, accountability, and efficiency potential. Local examples of where this is used daily, Type 1, Level 1 critical care facilities, Banner, TMC, El Rio, Department of Defense, Davis-Monthan, Luke Air Force Base, Fort Huachuca, others across the country, as well as Raytheon locally, financial institutions, and educational facilities such as JTED, U of A. This ensures that the students and staff are secure due to the dual level authentication, and that the systems are optimized and running as efficiently as possible within the design standards. We are open. That's what I have to give a brief overview of cybersecurity. And again, I'm glad for the bond committee bringing this up because it's a very important topic these days. As you know, every day there are threats coming in. So with that, I just want to open it up for questions.
I have some. Am I the only one? Okay. Okay. Mr. Sipe, I
Yes, sir.
appreciate your time and willingness to come out and do this presentation. So I want to say thank you for that first. So I've got a few questions.
Yeah, please.
The first, generally, are there examples of where this technology has been deployed 100% in the state, in the country? I'm not sure exactly what the scope of your reach is.
Yeah, so we have over 13,000 installations across the country worldwide.
So you're national or
Correct.
you're international?
Yeah, international.
International. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Internationally, it's been deployed on all those, type of examples locally that we talked about and described. It's those same type of facilities. We could break it down by percentages where it's been deployed in DOD, hospitals, school districts, et cetera.
Right. Okay. So yeah, you mentioned it's been deployed in military, defense, financial institutions. So you're multi-sector.
Yes.
When did you start deploying or deploying this infrastructure? Approximately, like what year did this start to go out?
So this started to go out, I would say, pre-COVID.
Okay. So
Yeah.
2018, 2019.
Yeah, 2018,
something
2019,
like that.
when it really became a threat. The old technology started becoming outdated.
Right.
So as the threat, after 2011 to 2018, as things become obsolete, it started to, cybersecurity became a number one priority.
Okay. All right. Great. And then my other, I've got like 3 more questions that are basically all infrastructure related.
Sure.
So one, I looked over the the PDF you sent in. Thank you for that.
Sure.
It looks like one of the key components of the way that the infrastructure works is everything is mediated through the cloud. So can you talk a little bit more about who has access to that? Because some people who have had concerns about mediating through the cloud as opposed to doing everything on the ground, the question becomes, who is it who has the keys? Because the more you consolidate, because the cloud is about consolidation for convenience and better management, right? But there's a flip side of that where the cloud also basically bunches data together so that fewer people need to have access to more things if they do have access.
Sure.
So can you address that?
So I'm going to give you a brief oversight of that.
Okay.
And then I brought along John Muir, who's a controls engineer, and he could get into the details of that. But the reason everything's going to the cloud is due to the information and data that has to be stored. As you see, the Internet of Things, IoT, everything has to go to the cloud. You get, you could, instead of storing data and running out of space, having to get new servers, new software updates, it updates 24/7. Right? So the space, the real-time feedback, the trending applications in order to get the data, we have to get the data in order to measure and know where we're at to make educated decisions. So the details of that, if you don't mind, I'll bring him up.
I'll say thank you also, John Muir with Veritech. It's a pleasure to be here. So talking directly in how the data is actually transported from the sites themselves up to the cloud, right? We work directly with the TUSD infrastructure team, network infrastructure team, and we created what is referred to as a reverse proxy tunnel, which is highly secure and completely encrypted. So from that point, it's within the district's Ethernet IT infrastructure and their standards that they've got in place already for cybersecurity that we use our tunnel to directly encrypt the data and store it in the cloud. Once that's there, every user is assigned a specific two-person or two authentication device, right? So your email plus a face or something like that, as far as it can be tied to your computer, your login, which is controlled by TUSD Ethernet infrastructure like that. So in past, there were times where they used to be able to provide like a global EMCS or BAS or HVAC login that everybody used. Those times have gone away with cybersecurity. Probably 10 years ago, that started to change because of cybersecurity, of hackings, of, hey, look, we need this data secure. We don't want it on our system, things like that. So with the CodeOS platform, that is a cloud-based platform, every user, every IP address, everything that is connected to the system is tracked from the time it actually authenticates all the way through to every point that it changes and everything that it looks at and everything that it does. So it's highly secure on that side of it, especially with the reverse proxy setup, because it creates a virtual tunnel from the data to the user itself.
Right.
So I guess that's the basics of it. Is it's very, very highly secure. CodeOS has a team, well over 200 people. They constantly see roughly about 10,000 attacks an hour on the system, which is relatively small compared to other institutions like financial institutions and government, entities like that. So from that standpoint, that's kind of the level of every user has to have an authentication. So
okay,
that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Is it Mr. Mayor?
Yes, John.
I appreciate you being here also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one follow-up on this topic. So I am not an expert, which is why I appreciate you being here to answer questions. My assumption is that ultimately there are layers of access in a system like this. So TUSD would have access to the TUS dealer, for example, authenticated users who would be using the system if it was installed and deployed. I assume someone has access to everything, and I'm assuming that would be Veritech because they're the architects of the system. Tell me where I'm wrong and what the actual situation is.
Yeah, go ahead. So every user has to be created.
Mm-hmm.
There's a profile that's assigned to every user.
Okay.
And then there's a role that is assigned to that user besides the profile.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 100 different roles that we can utilize. They're completely customizable, and we've worked directly with TUSD Facilities Management to create a specific level of roles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? CodeOS is a cloud-based platform. It is owned by TUSD.
Mm-hmm.
We provided it, but technically speaking, it is TUSD software.
Okay.
The facilities management team operates and admins the whole entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
They give us permission as providers to help them learn it, train it, to be able to deploy it themselves, to be able to assign users, delete users, remove users as needed per what's happening within the district.
Okay.
So it's down very specific to where we have a view-only role to what we refer to as a super admin role, which has rights to do a bunch of different things. So that's the level of complexity to it. To tell you exactly how many roles, there's probably over 200 different roles that we could assign at any time at this point.
Okay.
So that's a great question. And with that, we have access, so the same sign-in privileges that any administrator would have, which is dual authentication, we have to go through those same things. So when they give us access, they can limit it to our Ethernet cable and one desktop computer at our office that we have to sign in to, and we have to do that process. And whoever is the signee has to have that authenticator app on so they can sign in through. We do federal courthouses all the time where it's highly secure. We do Raytheon, we do the DoD facilities. So we have to, they tell us if they want to give us viewing privileges, that's fine. Whatever role they want to do. What it does is it allows us as a team to help them find issues before they become problematic. 24/7 fault detection analytics. So when everybody goes home for the day, we could deploy rules to test things out, to find deficiencies before there's a problem. So to maintain tight temperature control for students, the learning environment, try to optimize efficiency, give money back to the district on operational costs, to help alleviate some of the Band-Aids and headaches that you have to go through. So the same process that TUSD facilities members in operation would have, we have to do the same thing.
Okay.
So we don't own it, they own it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So, second question. I've got three altogether,
Yeah,
just
go
so
ahead.
you know. So I saw in your PDF that it was actually really nice because it linked all of your partners, and there's active sites available if you click on that.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at, I believe it was Niagara. Are you familiar with Niagara?
John is probably more familiar, but yes, we are.
Okay, and so they said they listed a number of different service sectors, and one of them was smart cities. And I know that the general idea behind a smart city is that you have a lot of things integrated together, talking to each other, giving feedback, and so on through the Internet of Things, ultimately to include the Internet of Bodies, right? So that leads to my primary question, which is when this is installed in TUSD through the HVACs, and I saw that it's not limited to HVAC use. You had a circular wheel on your presentation that includes about 14 different things. What is the degree of integration, if any, of the TUSD schools using this platform with anything outside of TUSD itself? And if it is not integrated with anything outside, is there the potential for that to be in some sort of like a smart city scenario?
So if I'm understanding your question, just to get clarification, are we tying all those things together on one building or several buildings? Deploying it?
Well, actually, that's not my question, although that's relevant.
Okay.
Because you have what this tells us is that you can do that.
Sure.
And that may indeed happen, right?
Yeah.
But outside of TUSD, will TUSD be integrated with anything that is non-TUSD?
No.
Okay.
So TUSD's infrastructure is their own. So what this is showing is within TUSD, you could have one platform to tie into all that stuff.
Okay.
So they don't have to have different dashboards.
Right.
To click, and you don't have, if you have 10 things up there, you don't have
One
10
piece of
dashboards.
glass.
One pane of glass.
Or a pane of glass, yeah.
1/8 inch.
Right, right.
Not quarter inch.
So
Maybe we need the bulletproof, we need the security film.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right.
Well, and so, okay, thank you for that. The lead-up question to that then is, speaking of this wheel right here that we're looking at, is the plan to actually integrate all of that eventually within TUSD? Because so far the discussion has only involved the HVACs.
Yes, and that's what we're here, only to discuss the HVAC. But I'm sure as they deploy this, it would be easier for them because they can do work orders on facilities and operations. You could tie into that. You could tie into lighting, security. So they have one click of a button, pull it all in. That hasn't been discussed, but it's available.
Okay. And there is, technologically speaking, even though there's not a plan to right now, there is a capability to link up TUSD school infrastructure with outside infrastructure. Right, if the decision were made to do so. So, for example, we have Raytheon right here, and I know you mentioned defense contracting institutes that you work with. There could feasibly be a way to link TUSD to Raytheon, should someone decide to do that. And I'm not saying someone wants to do that, but just
No,
in terms of
because of the firewall and security measures that each IT department has in place, they're all independent of each other.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you don't link two together. You sign in dual authentication to each one. They all have different steps and ways to sign in. So you can't link two together. You can't link a school in Nebraska to a school in Tucson. You can't link a DoD facility to a TUSD. No, that's not possible.
Okay, so, but that would be a user decision, or does the infrastructure itself prevent that? Like, could someone remove that firewall?
No, that's a IT department, and they have those things in place for security measures, just like you're talking about. So each one's independent of each other.
Okay, but decisions made in the IT department.
That is correct.
Okay, yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, and as far as cybersecurity and controls goes, we can get in depth and in the weeds. I know on this.
Right.
As you see that wheel, yes, we can tie that into a lot of things that are utilized and used within TUSD. The nice thing about it is, if that's the potential and they want to, everything that's being installed, there's no add-ons. It's
Right.
there and ready and it's available.
Right, okay, okay, thank you. And third and final question
Go ahead.
is about artificial intelligence. I mean, it's clearly a hot topic right now, and it's something that's exploding. It's relatively deregulated in terms of the way that some people might like. I assume that there's at least a low level of AI involved in the infrastructure here. Can you describe that and then also talk about what plans there might be for additional artificial intelligence build out and the role that would play relative to human control?
So I'll bring John in to talk about the AI portion.
Okay.
As far as future, those things are ongoing as far as R&D, research and development. Not sure if we can talk on the specifics of where we're headed.
Okay.
But he can talk about AI as it's being utilized today and what has been deployed within TUSD.
That would be great. Anything that you're able to discuss
Yeah, for
is welcome.
Good questions. So we'll start with data normalization, right? So on a site, AI is all built on what it is, right? So if somebody says, well, I need a gallon of blank, is that gallon of water or a gallon of milk? Where if I go, I need a gallon of blank for my cereal, you know that it's milk, right? So by normalizing the data, internal of what we have with code is a whole holistic or a whole section of rules and analytics, and that's where the AI portion of it comes in.
Okay.
So the fault detection and diagnostics piece is built 100% on analytics, and there are over 300 rules already currently built, including the ASHRAE Guideline 36 rules that are or can be deployed at any time on the HVAC system. And the reason it's important is because if we know that things are not working correctly, we can fix them quickly and prioritize the stuff that's the more critical items that are happening on each individual site with each pieces of equipment or in each classrooms, right? So that's the analytics portion of it. It's as simple as I need to know if the fan is on or off. I need a fan alarm. I need to know if the room temperature is hot or cold. So within Open Plus, as the Code OS platform, we have what's called a BI modeling, which is basically building intelligence. And that platform is literally the wildcard search type of thing. What is my average temperature of these 4 schools? And it will go out and research and pull that information and provide that in the database as a chart and a graph that can be then duplicated, replicated, and saved and stored for real purposes, right? What is happening with this school? Where do I need to focus my repairs? Or are we saving money? How much more money can we save? Because there's a whole piece with the analytics as far as energy savings and energy conservation. We've all heard sustainability, we've heard net zero. That's what these rules are built for, is to create that within the district, create that on the schools and everything where it's deployed. So from an AI standpoint, there's probably over 100 or over 1,000 different items already built into the AI side, and they are improving it every day. Like we mentioned earlier, because it's cloud-based, all the software enhancements happen automatically. They're not an additional cost. They're not, and it's part of the platform that's there for you guys to use. So as enhancements happen with AI, as enhancements happen with what's happening with Google and everybody, ChatGPT, all that kind of things, those kind of platforms are adopted into the software to where we're testing grounds right now where I can type in a series of words and have a graph chart created within the platform for that, which is like average temperatures of these 5 schools, and it will do that. So it is already being performed, and it is a part of this system. AI is here for the world to have. And it is actually an advantage for everybody here because it tells us where the inefficiencies are not happening, right? What's not happening that we should be doing.
Right. So does AI at this point have any sort of operational control, or does it only feedback information?
Based on the data and how the systems are locally at each site, they actually do have full control.
Okay.
Okay, but it's written on a rule.
Right.
So, and then as far as there's a piece of it that's called functional testing, where I can pre-test an entire school going into, like on spring break, I'll go test an entire school and test all of the operation of all the valves, all the fans, all the cooling mechanisms, everything that's there, generate a report that says your entire site is 100% okay, or these 4 things failed and they need to be fixed, so that when you go into summer, you know that the cooling's working, and vice versa in the heating. Those are already pre-written rules as part of the fault detection and diagnostics that run in the system constantly at all times. Can that mean that somebody can go in and say, hey, I want to turn all the temperatures up to 100 degrees? Well, no, you can't do it that way. It has to be normalized to the data, to the site, to the pieces of equipment that are there, and then scheduled by facilities to happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then finally, because you mentioned the data, so there's clearly data that's being collated on things like, temperature, water usage, utility data.
Yep.
What is the nature of that data relative to anything outside of TUSD? So, the utility companies are going to be involved at least indirectly. So like TEP, city water, things like that. Who has access to the collated data? And I'm sure that there's a history built as time goes by. That data, there's no reason for it to be deleted, right? So you're building kind of a history.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I'll answer the first part of it first, the storage of the data. All the data that comes through the system is completely encrypted and is stored for a minimum of 3 years. Okay. In certain scenarios, like for healthcare, we're required to keep it for a 10-year period. So, but for TUSD right now, it's set up as a 3-year minimum storage. That doesn't mean it's going to be deleted after 3 years. It just means that a minimum of 3 years. Now, the data that is there, we'll go to the energy usage data, right? So in order to say what the square foot of this building is being used for the net carbon footprint type thing, we need the energy meter data, right? So we have APIs, application protocol interfaces, that actually work with companies like TEP and Southwest Gas, that we can collect that data in live from the meters based on your TUSD's profile, okay? That is done through an API through the individual users that are authenticated to access that data. So facilities managers like Damon and them would be able to see that kind of information and go, okay, I want to see what my, this school compared to that school. Same footprint, same design systems, same local area. How much more is this one using energy-wise than that one? So that data is available, but it's all encrypted and all stored, and it's only available for the people who has the authentication to access it.
Okay, so completely internal to TUSD.
Completely internal to TUSD.
Not accessible to, for example, TEP. If they wanted to access that, they would have to request it from TUSD, but they wouldn't be able to access it. Okay.
Sorry, that's correct. We're just utilizing their API to pull the information, but it's internal. They can't log in and take it externally.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And then finally, I'm basically done. But because you mentioned it, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned health data being collected for 10 years. Are you guys involved in health data, or is that something completely different you just used as an example?
You want me to answer that?
As some of our customers, we have healthcare industries, right? So we have El Rio and things like that. So
but not TUSD. You're not involved in the TUSD health data. Well, that's what I would be concerned about.
He was just using it as an example.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, for sure.
The healthcare industry requires that they store data for 10 years.
Right. Okay.
And it's customizable.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I have no further questions. If anyone else does, I'd love to hear them.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thanks very much for being here.
Yes,
this
sir.
is truly an education here. You answered a couple of my questions that I had already, and thank you very much. But I'm curious about one thing. TUSD has 3 vendors under this bond for HVAC and their systems. My question is, does each vendor have a proprietary control system that belongs only to them and nobody else has access to it?
No, they're utilizing BACnet open protocol. So what we've done as a team is we've sat down with each one of those preferred vendors, and we make sure that each one of them is installing everything the same, so nothing has to be changed out and there's no waste. Open Plus is a platform on top of it that communicates with all of them. None of them are non-proprietary. It's open BACnet protocol that we're able to pull in. We don't have to change out. So which is why it was important to develop a standard for the installation process, so everybody's on the same field.
Okay, that's comforting to know.
Yeah, so the platform on top, Open Plus, is just, it's a single pane of glass, as you mentioned, but we're able to deploy that on multiple different vendors. Delta, Siemens, KMC, so on and so forth.
So at each school site, the folks who are at that site actually control the temperatures that are ongoing there both day and night?
So that would be up to who's set up as users and how they are set up. If they have admin privileges, they would have access to their school and to be able to adjust their school alone. Because you can set up, if you're an admin, you could have supervisor access where you can access all the schools, such as facilities may. But anybody specific to that school, they would be able to adjust the temperature, and you could set it to, a teacher could adjust the temperature in this one room, or that's completely customizable, but it would be within the square foot of that facility.
Okay, so with your system, you can analyze what the temperatures are in each site and make recommendations as to what your energy efficiency ought to be?
Correct, 100%. So we have what's called optimized start-stop. So what this is doing is it's pulling the data, comparing that data, and telling us when do we have to start the units to make sure that they're at the temperature that's being required within the design standard to save efficiency and optimize. That is correct.
Okay.
I think Mr. Ballesteros would like to speak on that.
Just to provide a little bit more information on that, Mr. Gonzalez, in regards to the temperature and the setting, there are HVAC team on site at 1010. They have the admin rights. Each site is set for a temperature, set temperature for every school. I believe it's 74 degrees. And inside, when they set the thermometers can adjust 2 degrees up or 2 degrees below. But the central temperatures are set based on our HVAC team, and that comes basically from the Arizona Department of Education, what the standard temperature of a room needs to be. So that baseline is set in the system. Then the thermometers that are inside, or temperature readings that are inside, it's really just a slide that you can move, that the teachers have, to move the temperature up 2 degrees or down 2 degrees. And that's how it's adjusted at each site, in each room individually.
I see. So you have a maximum and a minimum.
Yes.
To stay within a certain realm?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
what we try to do with that is provide a consistency and a baseline that matches the Arizona Department of Education's standard for minimum temperatures, and then again, provide that up and down for each individual classroom. They can adjust it 2 degrees up or down.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ballesteros, and thank you, gentlemen, for all the information. We appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you all.
So-
And again, congratulations on 1-year anniversary.
Thank you. So now we'll go ahead and move on to item 5.02. This is a very special individual. We would like to recognize Mr. Blaine Young for our Chief Operations Officer, who will sadly, some of us are in denial that he will soon be leaving us. I'll let Mr. Hernandez and Dr. Carter speak a little bit more.
Yeah, so we won't be taking any questions for this one.
I was going to nominate him to the committee.
But yeah, so as some of you may be aware, Blaine Young has decided to abandon us for greener pastures. And I use the term abandonment because that's what it feels like. I've only been here 3 years and he's gone. But, you know, Blaine was definitely among the visionaries to get this bond, the first in a generation bond program, off the ground. He's one of the primary reasons that I hired Dr. Carter, who was his former teammate back in the Midwest, where they, you know, wreaked havoc there. Everything's fine. Tulsa's still doing okay. They've got oil money, is what I keep saying. So we could not let this final bond oversight meeting go by without actually giving him a recognition on behalf of the bond team, the bond oversight committee, for his commitment to all of our kids. Most of us have kids in this district. Most of us have a lifelong relationship with this place. And Blaine, we want to make sure that we recognize that. So we got him a little thing with his name on it. So let me read it, and then you can come up and get it and do your thing, Mr. Young. In grateful recognition of your outstanding leadership and dedication in the planning and execution of the Tucson Unified School District $480 million 2023 bond program, given this March 20th, 2025. So, Mr. Young, come on up.
And I just want to say, like Ricky said, I've known Blaine for 15 years. I've worked with him at 3 other companies. He's a outstanding leader, outstanding mentor, and more than that, he's just a great person. If I was telling people that I didn't even know how to pronounce Tucson, I was like Tucson, and I was like, what about Tucson? What is that? And so I just appreciate that the man that Blaine is, and all the just hard work that he's done on the bond, and just the support for the bond.
Wow, guys, not only am I surprised, I'm very humbled by this. And I know we are probably close to time here, but I do want to say a few things about this bond. You know, when I came out here to join Tucson Unified from Oklahoma and joined this district, I came as your chief technology officer. And so that was another area that Dr. C and I worked together in the city of Tulsa before we worked together at Tulsa Public Schools. But one of the things that I found from working at school districts is it is really a way. My career had been 30 plus years private sector before that. It's a way to give back to the community. And if you want to see an individual who personally was touched and changed by public education, it's me. You know, I know that many people can tell that story, but I grew up in an impoverished family and came out of coal mining families out of the state of West Virginia, and we moved to the Washington, D.C. area. And if we hadn't have done that, I'd have probably spent my life working in coal mines, and who knows what that would have turned into. But education made the difference. And so I've seen that firsthand. I've seen when my wife and I got married, we raised our children and sent them to public school. So we are a family that believes in public education. But the one thing I want to just say in the last 7 years that I've been here, public education has evolved. I grew up in a county in Maryland where public education was pretty well funded. That's not the context in Oklahoma, and it's not the context in this state. And I understand how important every dollar is. Every dollar that we use to keep the lights on and run schools, pay teachers. You know, teachers are the center of the classroom and the center of public education, and students are the reason that they are. You know, those two things have to be kept top of mind. And I know our superintendent and this leadership team believes this from the bottom of their heart. But the other thing that you learn when you're in a role like this in a school district is the dollars that you can use to pay teachers and to do things to keep the lights on are not the same dollars you can use to keep school districts up to date from a capital perspective. This bond was a lifeline for this district, and I was so honored to just be a small part of it. But you guys were a part of it. I know some of you on this bond oversight committee, and you helped us as a community win the support and confidence from our community that we needed to get this bond passed. So I say thank you to you, and I am so glad that I spent the last 7 years of my career here with Tucson Unified. I wish you all the very best. I wish you the best in the execution of this bond. You've got the A team making that happen. And I certainly hope that it tees us up for the next one, and that this remains a vital funding source to keep capital investment going on in TUSD. So thank you again. Thank you for the honor of receiving this and also just being a part of it. Congratulations on the first year, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
So before we kind of cut away to this, I do want to introduce somebody, though, who is going to kind of keep the seat warm for a bit. So the board at the last meeting appointed Mr. Juvenal Lopez Juve as the interim COO for the district for the remainder of the fiscal year. I'll let him come up and introduce himself to the committee, but he will fill Blaine's shoes for the remainder of the school year. The district is currently on a nationwide search for a chief operating officer for the district, a permanent one after July 1. But in the meantime, Juve's got a great background, and I will let him kind of give his little elevator speech to all of you.
Thank you, Ricky. And again, congratulations, Blaine. It has been a pleasure to get to interact and engage with Blaine over the last 3 months, just off and on here and there. So my name is Juvenal Lopez. We're very similar. You can tell, right? We could stand together and you couldn't tell the difference. But Blaine comes from a mining family. I come from a mining family, except in Arizona, it's copper. So I'm originally from a small town, Baghdad, Arizona, middle of nowhere, between Prescott, Kingman, and Wickenburg, the perfect triangle. You drive into Baghdad, you got to loop around and come back out the same way. But my origins come from the state of Guanajuato. I was born in Moroleón, Guanajuato, came when I was 6 into the United States. The only word that was universal was no and no. The rest was just foreign. It was truly foreign, right? And so I didn't enjoy school that much, but boy, repeating first grade was a great thing for me. And that is actually true. It happened. I couldn't connect with education, but the result of education, public education, just made a tremendous impact on me and my family. And so I am such a public education advocate, will always be a child advocate. And I've had a chance to be in the construction part of things as I got my initial degree in construction graphics, applied science. And then I went into education, believe it. In '84, the copper mines in Baghdad all shut down. So if you've been around in this community, Phelps Dodge shut down, Clifton, Ajo, they just shut down. I went back to school. My wife's a special ed teacher and became an educator and have served as a teacher, assistant principal, a principal, a HR director, a logistics operations executive director, and also served as the chief development officer in another school district. So I look forward to continuing the work that Blaine and his team has done. Have observed Dr. Carter doing amazing things in a short period of time, which is really awesome. And so my goal is to continue to provide support and to continue to refine the work that we're doing, but just keep the momentum going, and just glad to be here in this short period of time. I do have some experience working with Dr. Trujillo, and he's just an amazing leader. And so, Tucson Unified should be proud of all their leaders. The ones that I've engaged with are just super and doing everything possible to keeping education at the forefront and making the right decisions based on every dollar that we have, regardless of funding source. So, thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the TUSD family. Once again, Mr. Young, thank you for your dedication to TUSD students, our families. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Good luck to you and happy retirement. Come visit us again soon. With that, there's also cake afterwards to celebrate Mr. Young's retirement, if anyone would like to. Well, for those of us that'll be here after the meeting, I believe Denise has it somewhere back there. Okay, moving on to our next item. Future meeting dates and agenda. Our next meeting date is scheduled for Thursday, April 3rd. April 3rd is Town Hall. I have my dates wrong. April 17th, you're right. As far as the agendas, remind me, Mr. Norquist, I've added on there for us to discuss the time of our
Yes.
meetings.
Yeah.
Was there another item that we had?
Discussing how meetings are noticed to the public.
I'm sorry, one more.
How the meetings are noticed to the public, how the public
Okay.
is made aware of the
That
of
was
the
an update,
existence.
right, Dr. Carter? That'll be an update.
Yeah.
All righty then, is there anything else that anyone would like to have added to that agenda? No? So with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
You need a motion and a
Aye.
second, sorry. You need a motion and second.
Oh, I'm sorry, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 3:02?
Excuse me a second. Did I miss the approval of meetings?
Yeah,
Minutes?
we did that.
Oh, we did, okay. Did I vote for it?
You didn't vote against it.
Aye.
All right, so we motioned, was there a second? Okay, second by Ms. Arvizo. Now, let's go ahead and vote to adjourn the meeting at 3:03. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? All right, so we're adjourning now at 3:03. Thank you, everybody. Oh, yes, one more time. Don't forget, our town hall will be Thursday, April 3rd at 5 to 6:30. Please help us get the word out, and please take a poster on your way out. Please post them at your sites, share with your social media, friends and family. Yes, please. Thank you.
Lots of good information.
Good to see you.
No, I really appreciate it.